Okay, do you all see the share?
I do.
All right, then. Here we are here. So this is our 7th class, if we can believe it.
Wow.
Here is, we're going to continue with the planets that we started last week. And we had finished the moon, and the next we're going to cover Mercury. Okay, Mercury in medical astrology. Mercury rules the conscious thoughts. 3rd in importance behind the sun and the moon for general health. So Mercury is very important for general health. Our habitual thoughts affect our health. The other way, Mercury for general health, it rules the thoughts, but it also, remember, Mercury rules breathing and the intake of air, right? And so in Chinese medicine, they use the term for the vital force, the vitality, right? It's called the qi, right? The vital force. And qi, they call it ancestral qi. That's the qi you were born with. So think of this like the sun, that's your essential vital force. And then you have food qi, which is energy you get from the food you eat. And this would be the moon, that's nutrition in general. And then you have air qi, that's comes from your breath, right? So the breathing helps generate energy. This is why people can do breathing exercises in certain ways, and it can raise your vitality. It can raise your energy. You know? So this is why we would say a 3rd. Zane says 3rd with the sun and the moon on there. Okay. So it also rules the nervous system and the brain. And okay. And here Zane says also the mouth and the tongue. I think this would be the speech. The other place it's extremely important in developing qi is it's the digestive process, right? The breaking down and analyzing of foods, right, and bringing them around, right? So turning them into your tissue. So the digestive function through Virgo, it would be through the Virgo region, was also important for Mercury. So it's extremely important in health, right? Quality and energetics, cold. This is Heindel says cold, dry, and nervous. And here Cornell says melancholic, neither masculine nor feminine, benefic nor malefic, but influenced in these matters by sign and aspects. And this is, I believe this is true. Mercury is Mercury conjoined with Saturn or Mars, right? It takes on the malefic qualities of the planets that are benefic that aspect it. Okay, so the idea in humoral medicine, it's cold, dry, with a lot of movement. One of the things you'll see in humoral medicine is they use the term wind, right? And wind will be things like a tremor. They'll say that it'll be a certain kind of wind, right? Or a spasm, they'll say it's wind. They use the term wind. And these are things that Mercury is associated with, things like tremors and spasms and so on. So thoughts, calculation, language, reasoning. When discordant, ill-considered expression, constant thinking about some problem. Whew, loop, 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 right? Okay. Pathology, that's involved in nervousness. It can be involved in mental troubles, mental illness. Okay. Here, neuralgia, this is nerve pain, neuralgia, neuritis, sciatica. the common things. It's involved in allergies, hay fever, and asthma, right? Now this is, you remember, as Mercury is the breathing process, right? So discord in Mercury can lead to a discord in the breathing process, like that, and that would be like asthma and allergies. And also can be involved in intestinal complaints. These are all from Zane. Okay. Therapeutics, Mercury-ruled therapeutics would be mental treatments. This is from Zane. I think where there's Mercury, journaling is very helpful, right? If Mercury is the issue, writing it out. Not over and over and over and over and over in the head. Write the thing out. Write out the problem, right? And that can help. Journaling also, so there's analysis. So things like a diet diary, have somebody keep a diet diary, write down the foods that they eat. This would be a Mercury way of assessing what the food is, and so on. Okay. A conversion is cultivate positive Mercury expression, clear thinking, talk about the problem. Okay. Keep a diary or a journal or otherwise write about the problem to clarify it. Antidote is Jupiter thoughts, therapeutics, qualities, and herbal actions. And this is one, faith. I claim this, cultivate faith in a higher power, right? Yeah, sometimes people don't just have faith, you have to cultivate faith, right? The way we yeah, put our intention there. Okay. Here's a case. This is Marcia Hines, and she had severe asthma from childhood. So I don't have a date of progression on here, but it was severe from childhood, and at times during her childhood, severe enough it's life-threatening. Children die of asthma every year, right? And this was the case there. So we would expect to see, we're going to look asthma, we're going to look at the breathing process, and we have Mercury, okay? In first place, we have Mercury is square to the moon, okay? And then Mercury has this, we see these all the time, has a semi-square to the midheaven and Jupiter, probably just to Jupiter, and a semi-square to the ascendant down here. And so here you have a Jupiter square the ascendant here, and then Mercury is on the middle of that with a semi-square to both ends there. Okay, so that's an example of asthma. Now notice also this planet up here in the midheaven, these are in Gemini, right, which may be involved, but this is where the distinction between a sign points to the region, but the planet points to the process. So this is the breathing in, breathing out, harmoniously. That is the that is Mercury. This is, you can see her chart in more detail. This would be yes. So this would be perfect at 20. So this is at the outer edge of the orb, but this is within the orb of the sesqui-square aspect there. Okay. This is a case of neuralgia. That's inflammation of a nerve or pain in a nerve. And here, this is trigeminal neuralgia. You have in your brain, you of course have the spinal column, the nerves coming down the spinal column, but you also have what they're called cranial nerves. They come out through little holes in your skull, right? So like one might come to your tongue, and they come to the optic nerve is a cranial nerve, and the one for hearing. And there's one, it's a facial nerve. It's called the trigeminal nerve. There's 3 branches, and it comes here and it breaks into 3 branches across your cheek, right? And so when you get trigeminal neuralgia, it can be extremely painful, and it's can be a common complication of a viral infection. People can have a cold or a flu or some other viral infection, and then they have, as an aftermath, they get trigeminal neuralgia. It can also sometimes be the aftermath of vaccination or immunization. So it's usually passes. It usually passes on its own over a couple of weeks' time there, but not always. And when people have it chronically, it's actually been nicknamed the suicide disease, because the pain is so bad and there's nothing you can do about the pain. It's very hard to do anything about neuropathic pain. So anyway, this man, Salman Khan, is he's either an actor or a musician. I forgot which. But it affected his voice, making it much harsher. I would notice for a harsh voice, I see over here Mercury square Saturn. If Mercury is the voice, it's possible Venus is the voice. Venus conjunct Mars, Mercury square Saturn, and that could be harshness. Mercury is prominent in this chart, right there at the very top of the chart, the highest planet in the chart. Okay, prominent on a T-square. It aspects all this large group of planets. Okay, and this is aggravated by Mars. Mars semi-square to the Mercury. So you have the Mercury is square Saturn. So Mercury has a square from Saturn and a semi-square from Mars. And here apparently he has chronic. Saturn is chronic. He has chronic trigeminal neuralgia with this is the chronic. This is the inflammation and the pain there. Okay, and here we have Mars rules the face. Okay, and by the rulership of Aries, Mars rules the face, and Mercury rules the cranial nerves. So here, this person has an afflicted Mercury, but where does the neuralgia express? It expresses in the face, in his case, because of the affliction here. There's nothing in Aries, but Mars is there. It's becomes the channel for it to express in the facial area. This is, you can see it more closely here. Mercury. Tremendous discord on the T-square there, especially with Saturn there adding discord, and then Mars aggravating it. This is A.J. Foyt. He was a famous race car driver. We could put A.J. Foyt had so many injuries to so many different parts of his body that we could use him in many places along this show, but I think I'll restrict him to his sciatica, right? He broke bones and had all these other manner of things going on. But so for sciatica, the sciatic nerve, we showed that in Sagittarius. It runs out from the spine through the hip muscles and down the leg. So it's ruled by Sagittarius. And so we're going to look here, neuralgia, sciatic neuralgia. What are the aspects to Mercury? And here we have, well, there's Mercury. Okay, it's opposite the midheaven and square the ascendant. Okay, well, that's a pretty good stressor there. And here, but so where is it? Where is this going to express? Well, let me see here, just 1 minute. 15, 26, 15. where is this going to express? Well, we know it's expressing in Sagittarius, but here Jupiter is in the first house. This is the body, right? And Jupiter is square to Saturn. Okay, so we're okay. The okay, so the potential of the discordant Venus is expressing through the first house in the area ruled by Jupiter in the Sagittarian area of the body. Mm. There's Jupiter is square Saturn. Okay. Here's Mercury and the brain. Now we know Aries rules the brain, and Mars rules the brain via its rulership of Aries itself, right, and the head, right? But also, and I believe this is in the Church of Light research, they found that Aries or Mars was involved when people had strokes or brain injuries. I must have missed that lesson that day or something, because I had spent some years thinking that Mercury ruled the brain, right? And that seemed to hold true for people with brain injuries or whiplash or concussions or things like that. And so when I did my kind of big database of charts, I went back through and I looked and I found out, oh yeah, we were both right. This is what I looked at a chart. There were 13 stroke charts. There was people who had strokes. That's an injury to the brain, right? There are two different kinds of strokes, right? One kind of stroke, a vessel breaks and you bleed out into your brain, right? That's a hemorrhagic stroke. Another kind of a stroke, the artery or a blood vessel going to the brain becomes clogged with a blood clot, and that starves part of the brain, and that part of the brain dies, right? So these are different processes. They may be ruled by different significators, I'm not sure, but the end result is an injury to the brain, right? So it's just two different mechanisms for the brain. So what I found there, 13 stroke charts. Natal Mercury had a discordant aspect in all 13 charts. Okay. In 11 of the 13, the aspect involved Mars or Saturn. Okay. So that is a pretty good percentage of to say that, you know, in most of the, well, this is my sample, but in that sample, most of those charts had an adverse aspect to Mars or Saturn to Mercury. Okay. One of those remaining charts progressed Mars aspect in natal Mercury by sesqui-square at the time of the stroke. So here it wasn't natal, but the Mars Mercury aspect was there at the time of the stroke. In that last chart, natal Mercury was semi-square to Uranus, and this semi-square progressed to completion at the time of the actual stroke. So we have this is there's something going on here with Mercury in the brain, okay? And we have a chart here. This is an absolutely fascinating man. I wonder if people have heard of William Sidis. He's the most intelligent man who's ever had their intelligence measured, right? His IQ was over 250, right? And he was a child prodigy in mathematics. They said when he was 8 years old, he had mastered 8 languages, and he was admitted to Harvard, I believe, at age 11, and delivered lectures on advanced mathematics at Harvard at age 13. It was something about assessment of four-dimensional objects was the topic of his lecture when he was 13 years old. He medically, where he's interested is he died young of a cerebral hemorrhage, right? He had a bleed in his brain. He was young. He was only 46 years old. And the same thing had happened to his father, right? So I picked the chart out because lots of people die of strokes. It's one of the natural ways to die when you get old and your parts start to wear out, right? Your vessels start to wear out. And I think it's probably the third leading cause of death in the United States today, and mostly people among elders. Here, so it's fairly unusual for somebody to die of a stroke at age 46. And so I thought to include the chart because it should have some kind of strong indicators for a stroke in it, right? And so first thing I'd like to address the idea of his genius. The man was just totally absolute genius. They said he had learned 40 languages and dialects by the time he was an adult. It's just a mental capacity just beyond imagination. Now, in our literature, we say that genius is associated with higher octave planets, specifically Pluto and Neptune, right? That the person can they have access to the information, right? They just sort of have to download it is all. And they don't have to learn it, they can download it. And so this is amazing. This chart, it's a noon chart. It's done for the birth date, for 12 noon on the birth date, because the birth time wasn't known, right? So we don't pay attention to the houses here, but we take Pluto as the ruler of the chart. Because Pluto aspects every single planet and angle in the chart, except Jupiter, right? So it's very uncommon to find one planet that aspects almost every other planet in there. That would look like, oh, genius, he's going to become the next Einstein and be world famous or whatever. But he actually became quite mentally ill and kind of an eccentric recluse. And you can see this in his genius. The Pluto here, it's opposite Saturn and square Mars. There's just a tremendous amount of discord that's going along with that. And coming to the cerebral hemorrhage, we have just a minute. I think I have it here. We're going to look to Mercury and Aries Mars. Here's Mercury. Okay. Mercury is in Aries. Okay. So Aries, we're going to do the head and the brain. Mars is the head and the brain. And here we have Mars is semi-square to Mercury. So we were looking for Mercury and Mars Aries. So here we have Mercury and Mars and Mercury in Aries and Mars. So this discord is consistent with a stroke. Okay. And we let me actually look back. What else did I have to say there? Yeah, Venus in Aries also has those same aspects, but Venus in Aries is also has an additional sesquiquadrate to down here to Saturn. So okay, here, and then Mars, which rules the head and the brain, right, is square to Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto, and semi-square to Mercury and Venus. So there's a lot of discord here in the area of the brain, as measured there. Now, at the time of the stroke that killed him, progressed, and we're looking for Mercury and Mars here, right? Progressed Mercury is here, exactly opposite the natal Mars. And of course, so here is our Mercury and Mars pair that we're looking for strokes. Now, you want all your stroke charts aren't quite this clear or this dramatic, but most of them aren't somebody who died very suddenly at age 46, right? It was an overwhelming discord affecting him at an early age. So, okay. This is it. Again, we have the Venus 23, comes down to aspects of Saturn there. Okay. And here the progressed Mercury, 8 of Virgo, O2, opposite to Mars. Okay. Okay. This is a question, this wouldn't be in our literature because I'm not sure Parkinson's disease was defined at the time the Churchillite did their lessons. Parkinson's disease it's a progressive degenerative disease. It's characterized by gradual destruction of the brain. And the symptoms, it has tremor as a symptom, right? And speech disturbance as a symptom. And I have this is 6 cases of Parkinson's. I have them. That's Billy Graham, Howard Cosell, Muhammad Ali, Jack Anderson, James Kunzelman, and Roy Ash. Okay. And these all had discordant aspects to Mercury and a progressed aspect to Mercury at the time of the onset of the disease. Okay, Mercury, brain. All had discordant aspects to Mars and a progressed aspect to Mars, right? Now, notice I said a progressed aspect, not necessarily a discordant aspect. Sometimes the triggering progressions can be a sextile or something that it just opens up an areal for underlying discord to express, even though it's a harmonious thing it acts as a trigger. All had discordant aspects to Uranus and a progressed aspect to Uranus. Now, this is the characteristic tremor. I think that tremor is like an earthquake. It's like a Uranus kind of earthquake there. And then this one, I didn't have any reason why to think of this from the nature of the disease, but they all had a discordant aspect to Neptune and also a progressed aspect to Neptune. So for people viewing the video or taking the course, this is only 6 cases. We can't say that's going to be that would hold for 100 cases or 20 cases. We don't know that, but these are the ones I had available. And but the Mercury and the Mars for the brain and the Uranus are very we naturally suspect them from the nature of the disease. It's a brain disease. Here's an example that looks like spaghetti junction there. We have Billy Graham, that's the famous preacher, and we have, I'm going to show you the chart a little bit bigger, but severe and overlapping adverse aspects to the significators of Mercury brain function, Mars and Aries, that's ascendant brain, Neptune paralysis. That is why Neptune would might make some sense, and Uranus is the tremor, and all 4 of those, each one of them is activated by a secondary progression at the time of diagnosis. And here I'll look at these again. For Mercury, let's see if I have them elucidated here. Nope. Mercury, here's Mercury in Scorpio. It's at the short leg of a T square with Uranus. Here's the Mercury-Uranus involvement. And this also square to Saturn. This, of course, this is very discordant combination, these 3. And okay. And then, Mercury on the T square. Okay. And then Mars, we would look for Aries ascendant. Okay. The Aries ascendant for Aries is also a T square. The Aries ascendant is square to the midheaven and the moon at the midheaven, and also to Pluto down here. So there's Aries afflicted on a T square, Mercury afflicted on a T square, and then Mars is over here. Just a minute. Why is this here? 10 of Scorpio. I didn't complete a square. There's supposed to be another line going up here. Oh, that's good. Never mind. So we have Mars is aggravating Neptune in that direction, and the Sun and Venus in this direction. Yes. So we had all 4 of the significators there. Okay. This is Muhammad Ali, the great boxer. He had traumatic brain injury. He also eventually developed Parkinson's disease. Some boxers, they get hit in the head just so many times and they develop it's actually called cerebrum pugilisticus boxer's brain. There's actually a name for it in Latin. And that isn't what this was. He developed Parkinson's disease. He has those same constants. But he did have a traumatic brain injury. And by the way, these are, the traumatic brain injury is fairly common. There's you can have a brain injury where you end up on the coma unit, right? But you can also have brain injuries where you don't end up in the coma unit. In fact, there's 4 stages of concussion: number 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And the first 2, you don't lose consciousness. It's still considered a concussion. You just didn't lose consciousness, and then you lose consciousness for a half an hour, or you lose consciousness for a longer period of time. Those are the 4 stages of concussion. So this is it's a public health problem, mild traumatic brain injury. This wasn't much known 20 years ago. It was a side specialty of cognitive therapists about 20 years ago. But now, with the wars in the Middle East and the tens of thousands of soldiers coming back after having been too close to an explosion, they have they have a traumatic brain injury, and these can be very deceptive, because the person basically has a disability, but you don't know, they don't know why they have it, you don't know why they have it, and there's no physical evidence of it. It's just they have trouble sorting their mail, they have trouble keeping things in order, right? Have trouble meeting a deadline, and have trouble with emotional volatility, right? From mild traumatic brain injury. So this is just for reference. Some people did a research. They did it in East Coast cities of homeless men living in the street, and they assessed them, and 50% of the homeless men living in the streets in East Coast cities had a disability from a mild traumatic brain injury, right? And so this is, you can be on your radar. This was particular one. He was fighting a fighter named Muhammad Ali in 1980. And Ali got so beat up that after the 12th round, he couldn't come back into the fight. He was just too stunned. His brain wouldn't work. So there we have a date. That's a traumatic brain injury. The time we look at the Mercury, just natal Mercury. We have the Mercury is opposite the midheaven, and like it's square to the, opposite the ascendant, square to the midheaven and Saturn. And then here we have it also is a sesquiquadrate over here to Neptune. Neptune, the sesquiquadrate to both ends of it there. I think Neptune has to do with coma, being lost in the fog on there. Okay. At the time this occurred, progressed Pluto is a square to Mars. Okay, and the parallels, progressed Mars here is parallel to the Sun. So he had some discordant Mars energy coming in at the time that he had that energy there. Okay. There's the chart a little closer there. Okay. This is something from medicine, natural medicine. Mercury. Remember, we say Mercury is dry, right? And Mercury, nervous conditions, and dietary fats in systems. This is Ayurvedic system and Chinese medicine system. Dryness is associated with anxiety, nervousness, and insomnia, right? We have this polarity that people can be more hot or more cold or more moist or more dry. And when people are more dry, their system is more dry. They can be nervous, insomnia, intolerant of the wind, and so on. So dry states promote nervousness, anxiety, and insomnia. Typically in those systems, the person would then eat moistening foods, or they have certain herbal medicines that help the body to retain moisture and become more moist. One of the rules in natural medicine, if somebody's dry, they're not dry for water, right? The dry person will be thirsty all the time, and they'll drink a 8-ounce glass of water, and then they'll pee out the 8 ounces 20 minutes later, right? They don't hold water, right? So the adage in most of these things is people who are dry, they're dry for fats. This is people who are constantly dry, have a dry state or a dry constitution. We generally have the person use, these are herbs, it's called the demulcent class, moistening herbs. You can find these anywhere where there's herbs, slippery elm or marshmallow. And you make a tea of one of those. You place 1 cup of that in a liter bottle, okay? And then fill the rest of the way with the water and have that be your drinking beverage. We've had many, many people in dry climates or people with dry inflammatory conditions who did this, and they'll drink 2 liters of this a day as their drinking water. And it's greatly easing and soothing to their nervous system. And and here the fats and oils in the diet, butter, ghee, high quality olive oil, and saturated fat is okay. I'm not going to go way into that, and then avoid bottled oils made from grains and seeds and any margarines. So increasing the fats in the diet will often help a person with nervousness and anxiety if they've been overly dry. And this is consistent. The fats are ruled by Jupiter. This is consistent with Jupiter as an antidote to Mercury. And here we come to Venus. Right. Venus, it rules the venous blood and the veins, okay, skin and the hair. It influences the thyroid gland and the gonads, okay. I'd like to talk about the venous blood. You look at an anatomy chart and you see the heart and you see arteries going out and veins coming back, right? And you would say, well, it's just pipes, right? Why is one of them ruled by Jupiter and one of them ruled by Venus, right? And the reason is the dynamics of the arterial circulation and the venous circulation is extremely different. It's very different, right? The venous system is basically a reservoir. It's basically a reservoir. It has no blood pressure, right? The arterial system has blood pressure, right? And it has big, thick muscles in the arteries that squeeze and keeps the blood pressure up and is driving the blood out. And it goes out, but by the time it passes through your tissues, it's falling into a passive reservoir, like venous, right? So this is their physiologically, venous blood and arterial blood are very different. Of course, the arterial blood is red because it has oxygen in it. The venous blood is blue because it doesn't have oxygen in it anymore. It's not, the oxygen has been, oh, excuse me. I just said that backwards. So, okay. Okay, qualities. This is Heindel's word, lymphatic, relaxing, sedentary. You see the sedentary, you see, just like Venus, right? The Venus blood would like to just kind of hang out and sit there, right? Venus, it's sedentary. It's just a reservoir. It's a relaxed reservoir. Has to be moved up with through muscle action is how the venous blood is moved up and returned. Okay. Cool, moist, pliable. Same. The weather is mild. It's moist and mild movement also. Thoughts of companionship, mating, love, affection, friendship, beauty, art, or Zane uses this phrase over and over again, or failure, discord, or disappointment in these matters. Yeah. I think maybe I told the story last week of I met a woman astrologer whose Venus was conjunct my Venus in the degree of my ascendant. And I thought, well, it'd be nice if we went out on a date or something, you know, and so on. She had to cancel the date because she had a kidney stone, right? So the malefics can be very beneficial, right? And the benefics can be very malefic, right? If just depending, everything has its painful and harmonious aspect to it. I was thinking of that today we have the power of a Saturn aspect. Half of that is added to the discord, but the other half isn't. I think how we need Saturn, right? We need Saturn to have bones, right? And we need bones in many aspects of our being. We need to have Saturn there. And Mars also, when we do Mars is constructive. We need Mars to build a brick wall, right? We need Mars to build a house, right? So these have that. And Venus has its discord and disappointment aspects also. It tends to affect the kidneys. It tends the venous bloodstream, the thyroid gland, okay, and the internal sex organs. We described these when we talked about the signs. This is from Zane. Either Venus or Mars is involved in venereal diseases, acne, and female complaints. Okay, this would be female complaints around the menstrual cycle. Okay. The therapeutics is rest and relaxation, right? So I like to think about the, Venus fond of leisure, rest and relaxation. The Venus blood kind of just rests and relaxes there, right? And waits for the heart to draw some out of there, right? Whereas the arterial blood is out there doing all this hard work there. So, okay. These, I think, also recreation. This is rest and relaxation, but just recreation. I knew a guy, he made his living as a recreational therapist, right? He was a counselor, but they would go out and they go jogging or they go play games or do stuff like that while they were doing that. Music therapy, art therapy, dance therapy, play therapy, right? So that's what he actually did. It was called play therapy. Yeah. Okay. Conversion, cultivate the positive expressions of Venus. Antidote, apply Saturn thoughts, therapeutics qualities, and herbal actions. This, for example, we could all do this in our own ways, but add commitment and responsibility to affectional affairs. The two together is better than either one alone. Okay. Dietary restriction on sweets as a treatment for acne. We do this in our clinics. We cure acne all the time, but the person usually has to strictly avoid one or more foods in order for that to occur. So that's the Saturn discipline, countering the Venus thing there. Also, Venus is one of the planets that tends toward negativity, right? And it needs some positive solar energy to antidote it. Okay. This would be along with Saturn and Pluto and Neptune. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Applying as an antidote, you apply it to Saturn. The love, affection, sweetness, and sense of beauty in Venus counteracts the selfish and fearful tendencies of Saturn. An example also, sweet fruits and vegetables. In chronic diseases, the sweet fruits and vegetables are full of mineral nutrition. Mineral nutrition as a whole would fall under Saturn there. So that's in chronic diseases that can be useful. Okay. Here's some examples of thyroid disease. The connection I see, I would say, well, why would Venus be real thyroid? Because the thyroid is the thermostat for the body. It's metabolism, right? The thyroid, if your thyroid hormone goes up, your body runs at a higher pace. If it goes down, it slows down. So here, I think I have here the rules of the thyroid may also involve the sun, and that's my experience with the charts I have. There's an affliction to the sun, right? That but then Venus has to do with the zone of the neck, but vicariously because of the rulership of Taurus here it's in the Taurus zone. That may be the reason why. I have charts, George H.W. Bush, King Bush the First, and his wife Barbara, Queen Barbara of the Bush clan. They both had Graves' disease. Right? Now, this isn't something you can catch, right? And it's very uncommon for two people in a relationship to have it, but they both had Graves' disease. And It's an autoimmune thyroid disease. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here is George H.W. Bush. Venus is afflicted in the natal and the progressed charts. And the sun is square to Uranus. Okay. Barbara Bush, Venus afflicted in the natal and progressed charts, and sun square Uranus, and sesquiquadrate Saturn. I just put in here, these three charts, which the only three I had of somebody with Graves' disease, they all had sun Uranus afflictions, right? I think the sample's too small to reach a strong conclusion there, but I do notice it when you take the three. This is a case I'm going to show. Venus is conjunct Saturn, Venus afflicted conjunct Saturn and Mars in the first, opposite to Neptune, semi-square the sun, sesquiquadrate Uranus, right? So that Venus is really getting a wallop there. And okay, and then sun is opposite Uranus and semi-square to Saturn and Venus. And that's the chart. I'll show that chart here. You can show it here. This is Venus is in the first house here. And Venus is conjunct Saturn and Mars. And they are, all three of them are opposite to Neptune. Okay. They have, this isn't relative to this, but they do have a trine over here to Pluto. They have trines and sextiles here, which are beneficial to that. And this person was actually cured of their Graves' disease. They had it some years ago and they don't have it anymore. This person actually used herbal remedies to cure their Graves' disease. We'll see. So, and so this is for the time of the onset. We had progressed Saturn was conjunct the Mars here. So here that's Venus, and then the Venus, we also have this opposition, the sun. We're looking for affliction to the sun. The sun is opposite Uranus, pretty close. And then Venus is actually semi-square to one end of that and sesquiquadrate to the other end of that. So this would be the picture of Graves' disease. Okay. Here, this is veins. The veins, and we have varicose veins is stagnant blood in the blood clots actually in the veins, and it can become inflamed. This is Fritz Arndt had varicose veins. Venus. So let's look to Venus. Why, there's Venus right there. He is pretty close square to the midheaven and pretty close square to the moon, all within a degree or two. That would have a lot of power, a lot of discord. And then it is this square, the moon to the Venus square, has Mars exactly sesquiquadrate both ends of the square there. And this would be the Venus problem, and this would be they become inflamed, right? The Mars inflames the veins there. Okay. Kidney disease. This is, I have 6 charts of people with kidney disease. I like to say Libra rules the zone of the kidneys. I think Venus rules the organ itself and its functioning, right? So this is a collection, 6 charts, a natal and, I'm sorry, the collection of 6 charts with kidney disease, and natal, or we're looking for a natal or progressed discord to Venus or a planet in Libra. There was a discordant aspect to Venus, natal Venus, in 5 of the 6 cases. Okay, there was a discordant aspect to a planet in Libra in 3 of the cases. Okay, and there was a discordant aspect to Venus or Libra in all 6. In 3 of the cases, the discords were solely to Venus. right? So this had nothing in Libra, but they had an affliction to Venus. They have kidney disease. Maybe I have one of those here. This is Howard Cosell. That's a lot of stuff going on there. I could, well, let me look here. So Venus is opposite Saturn. Here, Venus is here. It's opposite Saturn and square to the moon. Okay, kidney disease. Venus opposite Saturn, square to the moon. Libra is empty. There's nothing in that there. So here, this is enough for chronic kidney disease, Saturn, chronic kidney disease, opposite Venus. And then we had, I just met, as long as we're here, lung cancer, lung cancer, lungs, Gemini, moon is square to Saturn, the significator of Cancer. Okay. And then strokes and Parkinson's has Aries, Sun is square Pluto, Mars sesquiquadrate Mercury, and Jupiter and Neptune semi-square Mercury. So this had all the aspects for Parkinson's as well. Okay, now here, this is Tallulah Bankhead. She's an actress. She's on Broadway performing the role of Jezebel, right? And while there, she collapsed and nearly died following a 5-hour emergency hysterectomy due to having gonorrhea, right? Gonorrhea, we think of, we don't hear so much about gonorrhea and syphilis anymore, but these were tremendous afflictions historically at one time. And I think they estimated a third of the population of Paris had syphilis, right? Before they had antibiotic treatments for it. Today, our more troublesome venereal diseases, the most troublesome one may be chlamydia. Chlamydia is usually a silent infection and can be passed around and around and around. And if a woman gets a chlamydia infection, it can infect their fallopian tubes and make them permanently sterile, right? So it's dangerous because it doesn't have many symptoms. It's hard to detect and it can have severe consequences. Here, gonorrhea is, can be mild, but it can cause serious damage. In her case, it caused damage to her organs. Okay. In Church of Light and Zane's work, we have venereal diseases can be indicated by either Venus or Mars. In this case, we can look. What do we have here? What's our Venus? Our Venus is conjunct Mercury. I think that's still conjunct Mars. Okay. The okay, Sun and maybe I have them listed here. Do I have them? No. No, here. The Sun, sorry about that. Mars is here. Mars is square to the moon, and they are the Sun and the moon. Oh, I see. The Sun and moon are square, and they're both sesquiquadrate to the midheaven there. And Venus, no, it doesn't quite do that. So this would be Venus conjunct Mars, and all right. Okay. We have here. Okay, I think tonight. I think I want to stop now. We've done an hour. I had originally planned hour-long classes. I know they've been going longer than that, but here I'd like to stop now. We've done Mercury and Venus, and if we could close, and then I can stay